Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Last night, Elon Musk updated the world on SpaceX's Starship development. Let me tell you, the event was amazing. We learned a lot of really cool details, but I'm still a little baffled by the pace of this program. It's unheard of. If only there was someone that could answer a few more of my questions about this program and about Starship. Elon, how's it going? Thank you. You know, full flow, stage combustion, not a bad idea. Mind micing yourself up there? After Elon complimented my shirt, we mic'd him up and let the cameras roll. Now, for those of you new to my channel, we're gonna get into some fairly in-depth rocket science, and if it's over your head, don't worry. Stick around my channel, and I promise I'll make sense of all the stuff we talk about, like full flow stage combustion cycle and aerospike engines. There were parts of this interview that I wasn't really planning to release at first, but I actually think the best thing I could do is just show you the entire thing uncut from a single camera, so you can feel like you're right there with us. Yeah, first off, thank you so much for talking to me. I mean, we're underneath your beautiful beast.
Yeah, it's crazy. Can you believe this is even here?
I was here a month ago, literally standing right here. Well, not just over the fence.
Right.
And you know, you had a tube and a pointy tube, and now you've got this. I mean, how do you do that? Is it just sheer will? Is it everyone that driven about the goal?
I don't know. I think I've learned a lot of lessons about how to make things go fast, and then I've propagated those lessons to the SpaceX team, and there's just like an incredibly talented, hardworking team at SpaceX. Yeah. In fact, at times I think maybe there's too many talented people at SpaceX. We have like, you know, too many talented people that we're cornering the market or something. Well, you know, but there's a very talented group that works super hard, and just taking the general approach of if a design is taking too long, the design is wrong, and therefore the design must be modified to accelerate progress.
Right.
One of the most fundamental errors made in advanced development is to stick to a design even when it is very complicated, and to not strive to delete parts and processes.
Right.
It's incredibly important. So this is why the switch to steel was because the advanced carbon fiber was taking too long.
Right. Well, and you're definitely not a sunk cost fallaciest. You're like,
definitely not.
This is clearly the new path forward, let's hop on it.
Yeah, is it in the future or not? If it's not in the future, who cares?
Yeah, and you did that, I mean, look at last year, Dear Moon. You guys were kind of in that like awkward stage of probably figuring this out right here. You know, you had the carbon fiber mandrel.
We didn't even have the steel. I think we were still on the path. When was the Dear Moon thing?
Almost exactly a year ago.
That was before the change to steel.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, you showed the carbon mandrel and everything, and you're you know, excited about that, but then all of a sudden
I canceled the carbon fiber design in October last year.
Yeah, so just after that.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand is that you're the lead engineer. You're literally
literally. This is I was actually at dinner with a friend, and he was like, "Well, who's the chief engineer of SpaceX?" I was like, "It's me." No, it's like, it's not you. Who is it? Like, look, it's either someone with a very low ego, or I don't know, you know. But but you know, that said, you know, what I actually tell a team is like, everyone is a chief engineer. This is extremely important, and that everyone must understand how broadly speaking, all the systems in the vehicle work.
Right.
And so that so you don't have subsystem optimization, because this is naturally what happens. You can see the organizational errors in the product errors reflect the organizational errors. So essentially you'll see that there's an interface at this, like if you got whatever departments you've got, that will be where your interfaces are.
Right.
And then instead of like getting rid of something or questioning the constraints, the one department will design to the constraints that the other department has given them without calling into question those constraints and saying those constraints are wrong. And you should actually take the approach that the constraints that you are given are guaranteed to be some degree wrong. Guaranteed to be some degree wrong. Because the counterpoint would be that they're perfect.
Right, which is never.
You say like, what's the probability that this is the Platonic ideal of the perfect part? Zero. Okay, basically. So you question your constraints. It does not matter if the person handing you those constraints won a Nobel Prize. Even Einstein was wrong some of the time.
Right.
So question your constraints. This is extremely important. And like I think another thing that, like, if you say like, what are the mistakes that smart engineers make? One of the one of the biggest traps for smart engineers is optimizing a thing that shouldn't exist.
Yeah. So they'll just sit there and spin on that thing that's just like, why do we even have this in the first place?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So because when you go through college, like studying physics and engineering, I studied physics. You have to answer the question that the professor gives you. You don't get to say this is the wrong question.
Right. Yeah.
But in reality, we have far more degrees. When you're in reality, you have all the degrees of freedom of reality. And so the first thing you should say is this question is wrong.
Yeah. And that's what you said last year.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of said like it took us a long time to frame the question even. Because
Yes.
we didn't necessarily know
It took
what it
ages
was.
to frame the question.
Yeah.
It's just like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Douglas Adams, best philosopher ever. Maybe, I think, best book in philosophy ever, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This book is so deep, people don't understand. But like in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the Earth is a giant computer.
Right.
And the Earth, it comes up with the answer 42.
Okay. Yeah.
And to the question, like, so what's the answer to life, the universe, and everything? Answer is 42. And like, they're like, what the hell? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It's like, oh, the hard.
Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Last night, Elon Musk updated the world.
And that everyone must understand how broadly speaking, all the systems in the vehicle work.
Right.
And so that so you don't have subsystem optimization, because this is naturally what happens. You can see the organizational errors the product errors reflect the organizational errors. So essentially you'll see that there's an interface at this, like if you've got whatever departments you've got, that will be where your interfaces are.
Right.
And then instead of like getting rid of something or questioning the constraints, the one department will design to the constraints of the other department has given them without calling into question those constraints and saying those constraints are wrong. And you should actually take the approach that the constraints that you are given are guaranteed to be some degree wrong. Guaranteed to be some degree wrong. Because the counterpoint would be that they're perfect.
Right, which is never.
You say like, what's the probability that this is the Platonic ideal of the perfect part?
Right.
Zero. Okay, basically.
Yeah.
So you could question your constraints. It does not matter if the person handing you those constraints won a Nobel Prize. Even Einstein was wrong some of the time.
Right.
So question your constraints. This is extremely important. And I think another thing that, like, you say, like, what are the mistakes that smart engineers make? One of the biggest traps for smart engineers is optimizing a thing that shouldn't exist.
Yeah. So they'll just sit there and spin on that thing that's just like, why do we even have this in the first place?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So because when you go through college, like studying physics and engineering, I studied physics. You have to answer the question that the professor gives you. You don't get to say this is the wrong question.
Right. Yeah.
But in reality, we have far more degrees. When you're in reality, you have all the degrees of freedom of reality. And so the first thing you should say is this question is wrong.
Yeah, and that's what you said last year.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of said like it took us a long time to frame the question, even because
Yes.
we didn't necessarily know
It took
what it
ages
was.
to frame the question.
Yeah.
It's just like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Douglas Adams, best philosopher ever. Maybe, I think, best book in philosophy ever, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This book is so deep, people don't even understand. But like in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the Earth is a giant computer.
Right.
And the Earth, it comes up with the answer 42.
Okay. Yep.
And to the question, like, so what's the answer to life, the universe, and everything? Answer is 42, and like they're like, what the hell? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It's like, oh, the hard part is the question. The answer is the easy part. You need a much more powerful computer to tell you what the question is.
Right.
And this is true. At the point at which you can properly frame the question, the answer is comparatively easy.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I have one more question. For you, I'm working on a video about aerospikes. It's going to be about an hour-long video on aerospikes, and they're like the rotary engine of rockets. Like the rotary it's advantageous in some ways.
Yeah,
like a wankle.
Aerospikes, man,
They're cool, but
I know.
What's your biggest beef on them? Because I'm trying to get as much insight on like why do you think they aren't used? And obviously, I assume you're not ever going to an aerospike for a lot of reasons.
I've internally asked this question so many times. Like, guys, shouldn't we maybe do an aerospike? The challenge. So you can explain to the audience what an aerospike is.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
You're going to be like the end of this thing. I've already set it all
otherwise,
up. Yeah,
what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
So you got to get your combustion efficiency. Like there's really two parts to like when you have a rocket engine, what are you trying to do? You're trying to shoot things out as fast as possible in a straight line.
Yes. Yep. Converting as much thermal and pressure into kinetic energy.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
possible.
So you have your combustion efficiency. So what percentage of max theoretical combustion efficiency are you?
Mm-hmm.
And then what's your nozzle efficiency, which is really are you straightening the flow and shooting the molecules out in a straight line so that you go in the other direction?
Yes.
Newton's third law.
Yep.
With a traditional combustion chamber, you can get to a very high combustion efficiency because the molecules are all sort of bouncing around in there. They've got time to combine and do their thing. And then when you sort of choke it through the throat, that gives them sort of more opportunity to combine.
Yep.
So you can, we think we can probably get to 90, certainly 98.5, hopefully 99% of theoretical combustion efficiency. This is so if God himself came and knitted together the molecules to do 1% better. Okay, maybe 1.5% better. That's very high efficiency.
Because of full flow stage combustion.
Full flow stage combustion, exactly.
Yeah.
You've got a gas-gas interaction. So you've got two hot gases combining.
Yeah.
And with a relatively simple reaction, the only thing that would be simpler would be hydrogen. But you've got CH4 and O2. It's pretty simple. You don't have any long chain hydrocarbons. With kerosene, you've got the long chains. They got to break down. They got to recombine.
Yep.
It's like total soup.
Yeah.
It's like potluck dinner situation. It's very hard to get high combustion efficiency with kerosene. So when you look at the say like what's the theoretical value of say a LOX kerosene engine, as compared to a methane engine, the kerosene actually looks more compelling than it really is, because you can't achieve the high combustion efficiency with kerosene that you can with methane. So you actually want to say, what is the actual achievable combustion efficiency times the theoretical chemical energy? That's the real number.
Right.
And this is where methane starts to look really good.
Yeah.
You know, it's like very hard to get to like 96% combustion efficiency or even 95% combustion efficiency with kerosene. But with methane, you can get 98 easy, 99 with a little bit of difficulty.
And so you don't think, you're just telling me now, spoiler alert, you're probably never going to see a full flow stage combustion cycle aerospike engine produced by SpaceX.
You know, if somebody can show that we're wrong, that would be great.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody can explain, like, wow, there is a way to make your design better, this is a gift.
Right.
I would be like, thank you for this great gift. Wow, this is awesome. It's definitely, like, the worst thing would be, like, we want to do some dumb design and stick with our dumb design.
Right.
That would be insane.
Right.
So I would love it if somebody could show how an aerospike is the smart move. In which case, we'll just do an aerospike.
Yeah, just do an aerospike.
Yeah,
There's
totally.
a reason they haven't been used. Period.
But maybe that reason is not valid. You know, because like there's also hasn't been a methane orbital engine,
Right? Or a
full
flow stage combustion. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's been neither a full flow stage combustion engine that's seen flight, nor has there been a methane engine that's seen flight. Certainly in a rocket scenario. I think there may be some like little test things. But no actual rockets. But I'm like very confident that CH4 is the right fuel. So maybe aerospike is right, even though it's not been done before. But you just have to show that your combustion efficiency is not affected, and that you're straightening the flow sufficiently.
To get your expansion ratio.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And also, if you've got a two-stage rocket, like I think this is the other thing. Like you've got a two-stage rocket where your boost stage is primarily in atmosphere and your upper stage is primarily in vacuum.
Yep.
Then you can specialize for a vacuum nozzle and a sea level nozzle.
Right.
And then you're like, why do you need the aerospike?
Right.
It's only if you want to try to do single stage reusable, then that's when you start like having to reach for the aerospike.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Aerospikes with
All
Elon
right.
Musk.
All
Hey,
right.
thank you so much.
But I would love it if somebody could show like, hey, you're missing the mark. You could do this different thing, and this would be a better move. That would be thank you, please.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
totally.
Hey,
Okay.
thanks for your time
All
again.
right, thanks
Seriously.
again.
Yeah, pleasure
All right.
meeting you. Oh yeah, we might need to steal your mic.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I can bill you later. Thanks again for this.
Absolutely.
Man, I have to say, I've been IAC
It's so
2016, seeing, that was like, it was almost like awkward back then, because it was like,
I know.
you're insane. And now it's like, hey, look, I'm not insane.
Well, obviously insane, but I mean, even when I'm exposed to this all day, it's still like, holy shit, it's still mad.
Yeah.
To see it actually there. And I was up in the nose. I'm going to post this later, but
Jack Bayer's photo. Bayer, he got a photo of you, like, I think, like, peeking out of it.
Well, like this is when I was inside there.
No way. Oh, and those are the header tanks?
Yeah.
And all the batteries, you got what, 6?
We've got 4 Tesla 100 kilowatt hour batteries that were just like basically welded onto the header tanks.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that. You're doing Model 3 motors, basically? Is
Yeah.
that? Oh my
For
God.
that's. I mean, I don't love the. I think we should just have electromechanically. I think we're all gonna probably with Mark 3 move to a purely electromechanical actuators for the flaps.
Right.
Currently, it's electric motors. It's like Tesla motors and batteries that essentially pump hydraulic fluid into an accumulator, and then the hydraulic piston moves the flap.
Yep.
But it'd be simpler to just have the motors directly kind of like worm drive the flap.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah. And also the way the header tanks are done right now is crazy. We shouldn't be carrying the header tanks like cargo. I think we want the header tanks to be integral to the tip. So essentially, like, just take the tip, use the tip of the rocket as half
top.
of the header tank, and essentially mirror the main tanks. but in small form in the nose. So just have two domes,
Yeah.
and have the oxygen and fuel in the tip of the rocket. It's not carrying the tanks like cargo, but having the tanks
Just integrated, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Just a mini version of big tanks.
Right. Okay. And then because you don't have an extra wall and everything too.
You don't
It's
have
just
extra wall, no
integrated
mounting planes,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Like in the early days of rocketry, like V2 or whatever, the fuel and oxidized tanks were carried like cargo in the aeroshell.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In the early days of aircraft and rockets, the propellant tanks were carried like cargo.
Right.
And now modern
Welcome
rockets,
to flight training.
with modern rockets
I'm
and
your
airplanes,
instructor,
like the
Captain
wing is just a
Molina.
fuel
You can
tank
just call me Jess.
in wing shape.
Yeah.
Now we can do
This
the same for the
session,
header
we'll
tanks.
get
I love
started
it.
with some
Thanks
basic
again.
controls.
All right. Thank
Sound
you.
Yeah.
good?
Thank you, guys.
First things first, let's get familiar with your surroundings.
Sorry, I didn't mean to keep them so long. I guess.
Don't worry, I've got the stick while you get your bearings. Out your side windows, you can see we have great visibility over Sedona today. This is Red Rock territory. Beautiful, isn't it? See if you can spot the Sedona Airport. The runway should be a pretty easy landmark to find. There you go. Visual confirmation on the airport. Now that we're oriented, it's your turn. Time to fly this bird. The first control on our training list is the yoke. I still remember my first instructor saying the yoke is like a steering wheel. Almost. Sure, you can turn, but you can also pitch. For starters, it controls the ailerons. And the ailerons, they allow the plane to roll and bank into turns. Go ahead and try rolling to the right. Nice. Now let's see you level back out. Good. Of course, the yoke also controls the elevator. And the elevator affects the plane's pitch, right? Pull back on the stick, the plane starts to climb. Give it a shot. The most valuable things in aviation are speed and altitude. But notice, when you're pitching up, your speed is decreasing. You could add more power. Or for now, Let's just pitch down. Just like that, your speed's picking up again as the nose pitches down. As you level back out, let's talk about another control, the rudders at your feet. Rudder pedals control the aircraft's side-to-side movement, also known as yaw. On the ground, those pedals are going to steer the plane left or right. Up here, they properly align us during turns. Try them out and watch the plane's nose skew to either side. Simple enough, right? Before we go on, let's bring the plane back to straight-up flight. Make sure your dashboard is aligned 3 to 4 inches below the horizon for a cruise attitude. Okay, the last thing we're gonna cover now is the throttle. If you have the need for speed, then the throttle's for you. Full control over the power output of the engine. Let's see what happens when you cut all the power. Surprise, surprise, our altitude is decreasing. This might be a good time for a piloting PSA. Always keep an eye on your surroundings, because nobody likes a low-flying duck. All right, let's go ahead and throttle back up. There you go. Speed is increasing, and as long as we maintain the same attitude, our altitude will keep climbing too. You're really getting the hang of your controls. Before long, you won't even need a co-pilot. Until then, if you want help with the radio or checklists or simply flying the plane, I'll be here. You can pass me the controls when you're ready to finish your session, or keep flying. It is a great day after all. All right, I have control. Good job.
Salt Lake Tower Diamond Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra ready for departing straight out at runway 34 right. Tower Diamond Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra at runway 7 ready for takeoff departing straight out. Golf